Alright, 95 Honda Accord power steering pump repair, about as cheap and easy as it gets. $2.29 to replace an O-ring that goes in this intake inlet fitting. Second part of the video will show you can hear the noise that the pump was making, a loud whining, screeching noise when it was cold outside, and when the engine was cold also. When it warmed up, the noise would go away. Also, in that second part, you can see bubbles and foam forming in the power steering fluid reservoir. You can't hear my voice too well, but you can hear the noise from the pump and you see the bubbles forming. And I say something in that second part about going to a junkyard, which was my initial thought, to get maybe a $20 replacement, but more research online led me to the O-ring. So keep watching and I'll show you how to fix it. Alright, 95 Honda Accord, 4-cylinder LX automatic, non-VTEC engine. You hear that noise, kind of a high-pitched noise that's coming from a power steering pump, which I'm going to have to either rebuild or replace. This is the reservoir, fluid reservoir for the power steering fluid. And if you can see down in there, you see the foam, see the bubbles, air bubbles. That's an indication that the pump's not working properly. One of the seals may have gone bad inside, but I definitely have an issue with my power steering part. So I'm going to go the junkyard route first. I have a cash and carry junkyard and a LKQ salvage yard where I live, so I'm going to check it out and see if I can find one, and then replace the pump. So stand by. Alright, forget the junkyard. More research online has led me to a faulty O-ring on the power steering pump. Part number 91345RDA-A01. 91345RDA-A01. It's this tiny little orange O-ring. The replacement should be orange. I read that several places. Make sure that your replacement part is orange. O-ring's going to go right here in this fitting right here. I have a rag, as you can see. When I take this off, some of the fluid's going to leak out, and the alternator's right below it. Alternator pulley, alternator belt. You don't want to get fluid on any of that. 10mm bolt. This one right here has to come off. And that's going to lead me to the O-ring. And all that noise that it was making in the first part of the video made me think it was a mechanical issue inside, when actually, in all likelihood, it's just all that noise is coming from air getting into the pump, which, as we could see, air was getting in and causing the bubbles in the reservoir. But then all you do is pull this off, and there, right there, you can see it, is the old O-ring, which I can get that off just with my finger. Old one's black, and the new one's actually, you can see that it's visibly thicker. So I don't know if the old one has just shrunk over time, or they realized they had an issue. 670. Also read that you, just like with an oil filter, you should get a little bit of oil on the O-ring prior to installing it. So I'm going to slide that down right where the original one was. But 670 vehicles, this particular part fits the power steering pump on 670 Hondas and Acuras from the years 2013 all the way back to 1994. So very common problem, cheap and easy fix. As you can see, I'm going to wipe off the surface there, make sure it's nice and clean. Then I'm just going to put it right back where it was. Put my 10mm bolt back in place. As far as tightening it down, I don't know the torque specifications. I'm just going to cinch it nice and tight, not too tight, because I don't want to snap the bolt. And then I will crank it up and make sure the noise is gone, and look for bubbles in the reservoir. Alright, but if you hear all that loud noise, it might just be your O-ring. Cheap fix, easy fix. And again, this is a 95, so it's right here on top. The fitting is right here on top. I watched a couple of videos where this fitting was on the bottom of the power steering pump. So let me crank it up. Let's see what we got. Alright, it's actually next morning, Sunday morning, about 7 o'clock. I did crank it up right after I made the repair, and there was no noise and no bubbles. but I didn't want to take a chance on the engine being warmed up a little bit from having pulled the car into my garage. So it's the next morning. It's about 30 degrees. The engine's cold. I wanted to recreate the same conditions that you heard in that second part of the video where it was making the noise. So this will be a true test as to whether or not it's repaired. And it is cold. I have a detached garage. It's more of a shed, so I don't know if you can see my breath. Yeah, it is cold out here. So let's crank it up. Alright, no noise from the pump like before. The engine noise you hear is normal for this car. The valves are tapping a little bit. 22 years old, 48%. So no noise from the pump, no bubbles in the reservoir. There you go, right there. No noise, no bubbles. So, replacing the O-ring has fixed my issue. Maybe it'll fix yours as well. If you hear that loud noise from your power steering pump, don't necessarily think that you have to replace the entire pump. Maybe it's your O-ring. And I'll put a link to the parts page that shows the 670 compatible vehicles that O-ring fixes. Alright, so hope this helps you out. Peace out from Georgia.